Welcome back to the channel and to my home club where I'm playing a Stableford competition today. Points will be up on the screen here, and I actually received 3 strokes in the 18 holes today, so no excuse for not doing well. I'm taking it very seriously as well. Driver up the first. Yep, started with a snap hook, not loose whatsoever. Back cracked 9,000 times there, and we found ourselves in the thick rough on the left. It actually doesn't look too thick, but it's very juicy. Wedge in hand. And as I suspected, the juicy rough has caught me out. Unloosened noodly arms struggling. Let's have a look at Crenty out of the front bunker. Making it look like an absolute doddle from there, and he roped that home for par as well. Can I follow suit? Little chip on? Absolutely not. Left that way short and we're already struggling for par. Realistically, quite a straightforward hole, even though it's the first. And a bogey to begin is not great, but we'll get it out the way early. 1 point down and question marks about the game. Not to worry. Second hole, par 4, downhill. Driver in hand, which is aggressive. That's much more like it. Bullet straight down the middle. Just double checking that the club head's still attached. Don't forget to subscribe or your next tee shot's going OB, unfortunately. From the ideal spot then, this is a sand wedge from about 95 yards down the hill. Pretty good for me. Although I caught that a tiny bit thin, maybe a groove low. And it's just managed to find its way to the bottom of the slope on this second hole, leaving me an uphill putt. But I'm quite happy with that considering the greens are quite slow. Normally comes up way short. And we're on to 3. Tricky par 4 this, probably the hardest on the course in my opinion, just because you're aiming for that gap in the trees. Doesn't really look like much to aim at. Missed that right. Wasn't my best swing from the muddy area of the white tee, and I've missed the fairway and I'm in the juicy stuff again. Quite a long way back as well after not a great strike. 7 iron. Aimed that left of the shed with deceased eyes and still managed to somehow leave the face wide open, and it's not even reached the green. So trouble here. Got to get up and down. Not entirely sure what was going through my thick skull there, but not made a great job of that. And this is downhill. But wowzer, that was a great 4 in the end. And speaking of which, this is the 4th, a drivable par 4, and surely an opportunity to get back the stroke we lost early doors. Aiming at that tallest tree you can see in the distance. But that is fairly atrocious, I would say. High and spinny into the wind, and we haven't even made it to the second part of the fairway. However, opportunity here because it's only 50 yards, although my watch needs to go in the bin because it said it was 70. My eyes were not deceiving me, and now I've hit it miles too far. Should have trusted my old gut. So a long birdie attempt has, surprise come up short on a par, and I shouldn't really complain, but that is probably the easiest hole on the course. As we move on to the tough 5th, stroke index 18 is just a barefaced lie. I'm absolutely munching on a 6 iron just to get it there. And I'm afraid I've overdrawn it, and that is not the place to miss with a left-hand flag. This is very difficult, straight uphill, no green to work with. Done the smart thing with an insano mud ball, but we've still got 10 feet for par here, straight up the line, but poured in, and that is a lovely little par scramble. And putting is seemingly saving me on a couple of occasions here, which is nice. Here's 6, meandering to the left, hitting driver, which is unusual. Very aggressive play. Love to see it, except I've pulled it left a tiny bit, which is not what we asked for. Find myself in the rough on the left, only about 60 yards to go though, so good opportunity here, considering it wasn't a great drive. Line is very good on the chip, you would expect that from such a short distance. However, totally arsed up the distance, left myself a lot of work to do to try and make birdie, and that's a bit of a shame really. We'll take par, I can never really complain, but could easily have got that closer. As we move to the 7th. Now, as the graphic suggests, I get a stroke here. Tough hole this one, especially from the tee shot. Bunker left to avoid and some serious bother on the right hand side. So I'm hitting hybrid to try and avoid reaching it, especially on that line. I've missed the fairway and we all know what that means. Lush, thick, wet grass. 8-iron in hand, so still work to do here. Trees sticking out. Hit it straight into it somehow. And we find Woody the Woodpecker just hacking away in there. Cool. Not dissimilar to my golf game, similarly violent. And here's our 3rd shot. Struggling a bit here. Wasn't really in much danger off the tee, but I somehow found it. And I've hit that far too hard. Terrible shot really. And suddenly we've got a lot of work to do to save par down the hill. Frightened to death of it, not sure why when the greens are so wet, but that is a bogey. But because I get a stroke, it's 2 points. And here's the 8th. And looking at the lie of the hole, a long iron would find the fattest part of the fairway, but where's the fun in that? Bombing driver, trying to get as close to the green as possible. Didn't really get the fade that I normally get with the big dog, and we've ended up in the rough on the left, but not too bad. The yardage was telling me it was 50 odd yards, so full flop would do the job. But that was a complete lie. Anger has set in and I've just airmailed the green with a sand wedge. I'm close to the 9th tee, which tells you all you need to know about how bad that was, and suddenly par's looking very, very difficult. Done a decent job of that. Can my putter bail me out once more? Nicely done, good aggressive stroke, you'll love to see that, and suddenly we're coming up on the last hole of the front 9, an uphill par 3. This is a 6-iron today. Just hoping to get it on the green really from this distance. Holding the finish, I look like a douche, however, that usually means I've hit a decent one, and suddenly, a 2 could be on the cards. That'd be memorable. It's in. Well, I thought it was in. I don't know how that's missed, but it somehow has, and we'll take a 3 for a 1 over par front 9. Hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you next week for part 2. Goodbye.